Start. We'll call to order for the Monday, September 19th, 2022 spec meeting, hybrid meeting. Let's do a roll call of our quorum here, starting on my right. Go ahead.
Should I just say my name?
That's right. Just.
I'm Emily Anderson. I'm present.
Okay. And Paul Swim present.
Ryan Pryor present.
Okay, so we have a quorum. Agenda approval. This is where we make modifications to the agenda. I am suggesting that we do an introduction, since we have a new member, at the beginning of our regular business. Is that where we should put that, you think? Okay. So introduction of new spec member as the first item for regular business. Does anyone want to make a move for that modification to the agenda?
I'll second that.
Okay. And so it's approved to add introductions to regular business. Let's see here. Public. Does anyone else have anything else regarding the agenda that we should modify?
Move bylaws to next.
Does someone want to move that we bump the bylaws discussion to the next or future meeting?
Sure, I move to we bump the bylaws discussion.
Okay,
Sure, I second that.
second that. Okay, so we'll bump the bylaws. Wonderful, thank you. I like to try to get others to move in second, so I'm not like a job of the HUD taking over the room. Let's see, public comments. Do we have anyone coming in on Zoom? Any fist shakers outside the window or anything? All right, does anyone have a public comment they wish to make who is inside the room right now? All right, okay. We'll move on from public comments. Minutes. We have minutes from the June 28th, 2022 special meeting. Is there any discussion of those minutes, or does someone want to go ahead and move to approve those minutes?
We have those displayed in the agenda.
We do. I'm trying to. It is. It's just it doesn't like it without a mouse pad. I apologize that I didn't have this up in advance.
That's fine. We're good. It was a special meeting regarding the Riverview Park playground replacement.
There you go. I can screen share it if you want.
Oh, you have it up?
Or you got up now.
Yeah.
It was a kind of a one-trick pony. It was a one-item thing. As special meetings, I learned you can only talk about one item.
Correct. And it was approved by city council, correct?
Correct. Good news.
Yeah.
So it was a meaningful meeting.
So it was already ordered. Fantastic. What's
So
the lead time?
We'll be breaking down this spring.
That's great.
awesome.
I move to approve the minutes from the special session.
And since I was also present at that meeting, I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You can abstain.
Okay.
Yeah, since you went there. All right, so we approve the minutes from May, or excuse me, June. Let's move on to regular business. We don't want to adjourn. We want to go to regular business. Let's start out with introductions of, usually when we have a new member, we introduce, they tell us whatever snippet you want to tell us about yourself, and we go around the room and kind of lay out in a bullet point version our roles and who we are and what we bring to this. So we have Emily Anderson.
Yes,
Welcome aboard.
thank you. Sounds good. I have lived in Snoqualmie for a little over 4 years. I live about halfway up the ridge. I'm married with 2 children now. I have a 11-year-old tweening hard stepdaughter and a 7-month-old baby boy. And my husband and I are pretty active, outdoorsy people. We love to trail run and big skiers. And my day job, I'm a medical speech language pathologist who works for Kaiser Permanente over in Capitol Hill.
That's great, welcome.
No,
Welcome.
thanks. Thank you.
We can go around this way around the room.
No, I'm Jason Rogers. I'm the senior planner with the Community Development Department for the city. I'm here because I have an agenda item for you tonight, but I've worked for the city for about 5.5 years now. I live over on Mercer Island, so I don't live here, unfortunately, but been through a lot, seen a lot of things.
You helped us write the trails.
The last
in the-
open space parks and recreation plan update
Yeah,
in 2017 and 2018.
yeah,
So I'm back for it.
yeah, he's great to work with.
Okay.
Jason's great to work with.
All right, I'm Joan Quaid. I'm the administrative assistant for Parks and Public Works. I've been with the city for a little over 5 years now, and like Jason, I'm not local. I live in Tacoma, but I did live in Snoqualmie many, many years ago when it was a sleepy little town of 2,500. So a lot has changed and it's exciting.
I'm Mike Chavez, I'm your Parks and Public Works Director. I started back in March. About 30 years experience in government, local government and county government. My previous position was running the county's planning department, building department, public works department, engineering department, and a few other things. So this is kind of a slow down position for me, but I'm loving it and I love parks. So this is my passion. So.
Ryan Pryor, I've lived in the Ridge for about 11 years. I'm married and have 2 children, 13 and 9. And so I play a lot in the parks over the years. And I love skiing a ton as well. And by trade, I am a sales director for a global technology company.
Paul Swam, I've lived on the Ridge for about 12 years this November, and I've been with the commission that used to start as a parks board, morphed into a commission since 2014. And old South Bellevue kid had a relative way back in the Stone Age who was like the 3rd mayor here. So, I didn't use that too much to twist the mayor's arm to convince him to help me get on the board here or the commission. But yeah, just a kid of the West, went to school in Arizona, and kind of a vagabond. I hit the road in a car, and who knows where I'll pop up. So a road trip is I'm no stranger to, and never will be. So I bring a city planning background and technical writing background to the commission. So that's sort of my angle, and I try to focus on trails, especially. So because everyone else has kids and they're focused on parks, and so I'm sort of the trails gong banger, if you will. So welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move to the next item, the open space parks and recreation plan update, which I could swear we did this like yesterday.
It sure seems like it.
Yeah.
So I have to apologize. There was supposed to be this lovely memo that went with the packet, and somehow I forgot to upload it to the system. So not Joan's fault, it's my fault. So it would have given you a better introduction as to what's going on. So I will talk through it instead, and I will send this out to you after the meeting so that you all have it going forward. So we last updated the plan. The city last updated it's called the Open Space Parks and Recreation Plan. It's the master plan, if you will, for all of our, as it says, open space parks and trails and recreation technically. We last updated in 2018. One of the reasons we update it is it helps us maintain our funding eligibility for Washington State Recreation and Conservation Office grants. The next deadline is March 1st, 2024. So we're maybe a tick early here, One of the reasons we're starting it now, though, is that the city is also in the process of updating its comprehensive plan. That's the major planning document looking, 20 years in the future about the city. That update is due, thank you, legislature, at the end of 2024. It was supposed to be June, now it's December. And so all these things start tying together. And partly we have a lot of work to do on the comprehensive plan to get that updated, which is, so it's one of the reasons why we're trying to do this plan a little bit earlier. But also some or a lot of what we do here is going to feed into the comprehensive plan. The open space parks and recreation plan is technically the parks element of the comprehensive plan. Now, we didn't quite adopt it as such last time around, which is a glitch, but we'll fix that this time around. And so that, since it's part of the comprehensive plan, ultimately, that makes it extra important. So as we've gone through, we went through the 2018 update, which we worked on, starting at the end of 2017, adopted in March of 2018. And a lot of the scope of work ends up being the same. We're going to look to review and revise the objectives and policies that are in the plan. We're going to look to identify the current issues and driving forces for the parks over the 2024 to 2030 time period. That's the horizon for, at least for this time. We'll update again when we get to 2030. We'll have to update the park inventory. That one will be quite a bit more straightforward this time around. Last time, for example, Jeannie Hansen Park was brand new, so it was in there as an unnamed coming park, and so we fixed that. A lot less to do this time around on the inventory portion, which is helpful. We'll fix some of the narratives that are in there, and then the major thing, of course, is ensuring public involvement. You can see how many people come to these meetings. Unfortunately, it'd be nice to get some more members of the public. It doesn't always happen, but we definitely want to hear from the public as part of these plan updates. What are their thoughts? Are they concerned about playgrounds? Are they concerned about trails? Are they concerned about why are all the trees falling down in the open space areas and almost falling on my house? It's things like that that we want to hear from the public about, so we can consider policies to address them. So some of the key issues and factors here, we basically reached build out of Snoqualmie Bridge. We're very close. We have just 2 development parcels left to go. Those would be, excuse me, the big vacant parcel between the hospital and the parkway there. It's called Parcel S14B. And then we have what's known as Parcel S14, which is the big one at the bottom of the big hill on Jacobia that was supposed to be a Latter-day Saints church, which will now be approximately 50 townhome type units. There's no park facility proposed for that development, no mini park, no anything, because there are, of course, other park facilities nearby. There's a school just down the road. So there's nothing to worry about that. Obviously, another big key component here is the community center expansion / pool that, of course, the city council is currently talking about. We have, of course, climate change and its effects on urban forestry. We've seen that, especially in the last couple of weeks with this fire near Index. That kind of thing pretty much wasn't possible 30 years ago. It was too wet here. 30 years later, here we are. We got a big fire. That's something we're going to have to worry about here. And I know Phil then has thought about it quite a bit. And then, of course, what are we going to do with any future annexations and other development? One of the ways the city has grown historically is we annex new land into the city, unincorporated lands coming into the city. So Snoqualmie Ridge is a great example of that. There are other opportunities for further expansion, and in addition to, well, what does that development look like? We have to think about what are our park and trail and open space needs for those annexations and developments going to be. What are the kinds of things we're going to be looking for? I know that, excuse me, some of you at least have given some thought to what have we gotten from Snoqualmie Ridge, as far as the parks and recreation facilities. Do we have the right mix of trails? Do we have the right number and types of parks? Do we have too many mini parks, just for example?
Time lots. I
Yeah.
called them back in my planning days.
Yeah, little playgrounds everywhere.
Yep.
And so when we go to build these new, it's like we might want to consider changing up how we, what kind of park facilities we're going to want and need in that area. Maybe we don't want so many of these little mini parks. We want to get some fewer, bigger, more usable parks. But that's ultimately a policy decision that this commission will advise the city council on.
Yeah, those are like goofy little spaces that if you're not using them for parks, it's like, what do they get used for?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you got to maintain them. You got to replace the playground equipment every however many years it takes. And are they truly usable? they're usable for kids up to what, 7, 8 years old, and then what are they useful for? I mean, yeah, benches are great, but maybe you want to go play soccer or whatever it is.
That seems like something that would value public input.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know we talked about it in the last cycle and we didn't really get very far with it for various reasons, but especially now that we're kind of at the point where the ridge is reached build out, for better or worse. Now we're at the transition point of what's coming next. The mill site, for example, all that stuff's going to be private parks. The city will end up with some amount of open space. How much exactly is a to be determined thing, assuming the council approves the project, of course. So that one's a little, we can set that one to the side a little more, but like I said, it's these future annexations we're really concerned about. What are we going to get? What do we want to get? Is the operative question here. I mentioned it, I touched on the inventory. There's not a lot to do this time around, fortunately. For example, Eagle Point Park's not in there. Just to pick on that one, we can fix that. That's easy.
May need to talk about this at the end of the day tomorrow. I have a meeting at 3 o'clock regarding my budget. And there's an extra $100,000 in there. And I think that $100,000 is in there for a robust park inventory and use audit.
Awesome.
So I think that's why they snuck it in there. I'll know tomorrow.
Good news. Makes it easy. Tell somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
And then, mention revised narratives. There's a lot of narrative in here, and I can switch the share for a second to this one. This is the plan itself, and this is the one word. Okay, I guess it doesn't want to scroll, which there it goes.
Yeah, in my flustered brain, I looked at that one. I don't think I'm gonna print out all those pages.
No,
To bring it with me, so.
And here, this is the map, and you can see here on this map, there's all this stuff here isn't there. Jeannie Hansen shows us a coming park. This is Eagle Point Park, for example, and all these streets and buildings don't even exist on this map. That's something we'll update, for example. But beyond that, we have all this narrative in here. Here's the history and setting. Here's the driving factors in 2018. And there's all growth protection. All this narrative we're going to go through and update. This is something that I'll work on. So, but as you kind of at least scan through, if you see something that jumps out at you, let me know, because I can go in and take a look at that. And if you want to propose some changes, that's great. I'm always happy to accept help. And I know obviously, Paul, you've got a lot of experience doing technical writing, but this goes for all of you, that if you see something that doesn't make sense, feel like it needs to be updated, is just written poorly, we want to know about, we want to fix it and make it work better.
What's your goal for when you're going to turn a revised copy in?
Well, let me go back to the memo and show you here. So I did put a draft schedule on here, which is this whole part at the bottom. What we're hoping is, so I know the commission meets once a month. So we built in, getting a recommendation out of the commission in February. We will have a public hearing on this. At least we're hoping to have a public hearing on this in January. That gets us through the holidays, gives the commission time to work through this and think about it, helps us get the word out a little more, and not just try, because otherwise, we're trying to do a public hearing around Thanksgiving or something, which is just never going to be good. So hopefully we'll have a public hearing and try to really solicit public input more formally in January. We'll give the commission some more time to think about what you hear, hopefully hear a lot from the public before you ask for a recommendation to the city council on this. Then we'll take it through the council process. I put that's as fast as we can move through the council process. Who knows what the council will do. The good news is we have a lot of time here. It's not due to be updated till March 1st, 2024. So if the city council gets it and says, we don't like this chunk of it and sends it back, that's okay. We'll have time to work through that.
Okay.
Or if they just want to talk about it a lot, that's also okay. We can, it doesn't have to get approved on March 27th. We can take until June or whenever.
Okay.
But even that, if this commission really dives into this and says, look, there's a lot more here to do than we thought, that's also okay, because we have all this time that we can work through this. So I don't want, this might feel like it's not that fast, but I don't want you to feel like this schedule you see on the screen is driving this at the moment, because we have until 2024 if we really need it.
Well, this is really important. This is sort of the meat and potatoes of what we do as far as how we operate and have our effect on the future window of the city. So besides the commission's mission statement, this is really kind of where the rubber meets the road as far as how the balls roll down the hill and pick up moss in what we endeavor to do in our works. So
I have a rules question.
yes.
Is this something that we can only read and then speak about in open session with a quorum, or is this something that we can send like email updates, say, hey, what about, I have a question on this part, or
So
can I have a recommendation for this?
Like, how do we collaborate?
Yeah, correct.
Give
So,
input, yeah.
so that's because it's taken 3 years if we have to only do an open session.
So this is something that's known as a legislative item. So what that means that there's no restrictions, like you can talk to basically anybody about it at any time. And, you know, they can talk to the grocery store for all that matters. We do need to be mindful of Open Public Meetings Act, which is to say this commission cannot discuss commission or rather city business without, you know, us advertising meeting, et cetera, and you really have a quorum to do it. So that's the main caution. Typically what we ask for is if you have ideas or comments, you send them through staff, and we as staff can disseminate information out to the commission fairly easily. That helps avoid some of those open public meetings issues. We don't want to, there's something known as a serial meeting where you start emailing and then the emails go, you know, you're only
You have a
emailing,
quorum before you know it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're only emailing one other member, but you email 2 more, and then you email less. Suddenly all 5 of you are on this email. We need to avoid things like that.
It becomes difficult to manage.
Yeah.
And there's goofs and when you don't intend it. Yeah.
Right. So that's the main caution here is that we do need to make sure we're discussing this in the open. But like I said, you can send, if you have comments on it, you can send it to me, you can send it to Joan and Mark, you can send it to any of us, and we will make sure, you know, you can get it out to all of you, because we're here to help you and to help manage some of those issues for you. So they say, hey, I've got this great idea, I want to run it by the commission. We can get it out to them and avoid those issues. Now you need to not hit reply necessarily, but
Does anyone, Emily, do you have any thoughts, or does you have another question? Would it, I'm trying to remember in my mind's eye how we collaborated on this before. Should we take a look at the document? Maybe as a step one, take a look at the document and do our own analysis and chicken scratch edits, if you will, on it, and bring it to the next meeting for discussion?
yeah, that would be a good approach. I would suggest that we focus on the objectives and policies. And so those are the things that are at the beginning of the document. And so
Okay.
you can see them start there. And some of these may not need much tune-up. You might say, yeah, that's fine. There's no big deal here, you know. 10.1.2 here, you know, I obviously there's, and you're going to hear from Dylan in a minute about the inclusive park. You know, this is the inclusive park addresses this policy, for example. But the question is, do we include everything in that we need to? We need to rewrite it a little. So those are the kind of, it can be little tweaks, or it can even be, that doesn't work. Let's forget that and try to write something new.
I don't think it addresses that.
Well,
I think that's an overall guide for all of our purposes.
No, it is of course. I'm just saying, you know, that's an example of, you know, well, a lot of our parks don't address some of these things. Inclusive Park would address it anyway.
We only have a PDF copy, correct?
I can send you a Word version.
Perfect.
When I send this memo out, I'll send you a Word version so you can, you know, track changes it or whatever you're going to do.
So the commissioners could get their Word version and fart around with it and make modifications or whatever. Okay.
Absolutely.
You know, things just come out of my mouth and it just happens. So, are there any, I'm trying to think, are there any other documents under the umbrella of the city that would inform our analysis of this?
This one, not really. This one's going to be obviously the thing to focus on because this document question. If you're looking for some of the background and you really want to dive in, let me know, because I can send you links to where all the Snoqualmie Ridge documents are. Those will give you a little more background on why we end up with all these different types of parks in Snoqualmie Ridge. Partly because they're mandated, it's in the plan.
A little historical aspect.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the 2018 version of the plan. It's on the website. I don't know if it's actually linked anywhere, but it's in the document center. I can also send you the 2012 version if you really want the extra historical view. That's probably going back quite a bit on it. And the 12 and 18
Yeah.
plans are very similar at the end of the day.
It seems like that might be a, for the super curious if they want to ask kind of thing.
Right.
What do you think?
And the 12 plans on the website too, in the document center.
Does anyone else have thoughts about
This is a sidebar question, but as part of the original development, was there a requirement like that the builders built some of these parks and the city would take them over, maintain them? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I was.
So,
Oh, I'm sure.
community, for example,
Yeah, I was just
community park
curious.
was a requirement. You know, that we said, you need to provide this community park, and they did, and Jeannie Hansen's the same way, so we said, you need to provide this community park, and so they provided what is today Jeannie Hansen.
Yes.
I
But
would,
that's also where the mini park then came in.
So many square footage of top lots.
I
per
would suggest
neighborhood.
that you be aware, review the capital improvement plan that's been adopted.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of park projects in there that are directly related to this. Additionally, I would encourage you to monitor the budget situation as it develops. You will have a budget document coming out of this, so you'll be able to ask for the city's budget and read it. But you also want to start seeing how the parks budget is allocated and laid out, because that also might guide some of your planning in an absence, in a vacuum without real world ideas of how much it costs. Just kind of
Right.
doesn't work.
Right.
So those
Okay.
would be the three that I'd recommend, this one and those two budget documents.
Ethan, can you include links? You mentioned that there's background info on the city website.
Yeah, I can include those links in the email. I sent
Yeah,
to you.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
To make
Yeah.
it quicker, so we don't have to
Okay.
search.
Good idea.
I'll throw the CIP in the draft budget, proposed budget, which should be somewhere. Well, it was part of the council, wasn't it part of the council packet? It's public as it
They
gets.
jumped around it. I don't think it was part of the packet.
No, well, if there's a public link, I will
Yes,
include
if
that.
we can, we'll give it to you.
If not, you have
There's a
to,
lot of arm wrestling to go on that.
if not, you have to wait a couple more weeks for it to come.
Yeah.
To come out, so.
The other thing I was going to ask you is, are there any hot button areas of content in here that you think need updating or modification, or is anything you would recommend that we take a more of a slice and dice look at?
You know, ultimately, it's the objectives and policies, you know, because those are what's going to drive both the city, I guess, the city's decisions globally about what we're doing, both how we're managing the parks, what parks we're getting from future development. And also to an extent, how we're budgeting for handling the parks, you know. So that's really the important thing here, you know, much more so than any of the inventory or the narrative stuff. You know, that's adding just, you know, a fat on the bones. But those policies are the meat here. It's kind of, to a sense, telling Mike what to do in broad terms.
I like telling them what to do.
It might be a trail thing.
Oh, you can come in, Dylan.
Yeah, come on in.
Or you can
Join the party.
No, stay there.
Just make sure you're bringing beverages.
I was just gonna say, we could include more detailed stuff about trails in the. I keep wanting to mince my words with what we acronym pronounce things, but the Parks and Open Space Plan and trails, you can have trails in there. Right now, it's a little thin on the trails. There's some policy and objective stuff. But it could go more deep into inventory materials
I like this
and
guy.
future plans. 'Cause right now, it's lacking.
We fleshed out the trails big time in 2017, 2018, right?
Yeah,
Already,
we added
so-
more to it. But there's more of them, especially because, you know, we know that some of the regional trail connections are a big deal, and we've been pushing on those for a number of years, and haven't really gotten anywhere for various reasons.
Yeah,
But also our internal trail connectivity has come up again more recently.
okay.
You know, the Ridge has a decent and a fairly decent trail network. It's very good in some respects, not so great in other respects. But then you get down here to the valley floor, and things can be a little different here. It's not that we're not working on it, but
Actually, Dylan's made some good progress in that area.
Yeah, but if we don't include them on the comp plan, when we update it, it makes it harder to go after money. Because I can't go to a granting agency and say, yeah, it's supported by our council and staff. And they go, okay, cool, show me the comp plan and point it out in that section. And if it doesn't exist, they go, sure, I'm sure your council agrees. Without it there, it's an uphill battle. And
You
we
need it in
are
black and
honestly,
white. Yeah.
they need it in black and white, and I need to be able to show it without any ifs, ands, or buts. So that should be something you think about too, is if there's trails and future trail connections and things that you think the city might even participate in building, we'll have the conversation about it and we should include it. There's an inventory for parks. We could consider having an inventory for the trails, the systems, and where we're lacking. That would be kind of how we achieve that. So, but we can get into it more. Yeah, and Jason will be on it for sure. So I'll go back to my.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Jason, is there a policy instrument currently in place in the plan that speaks to decommissioning parks?
no. There is
I
not.
wonder if we need if that needs to be its own thing, or if that's just gonna be something that goes into other current policies.
It gets tricky.
Yeah,
It's like language acrobatics, and where does it go?
Now, there's actual legal repercussions and just where the property goes, and it gets really complicated really quick.
Okay,
yeah.
but that's part of what's on your mind, our minds, is the future of parks and certain spaces that may not be park centric anymore.
And it's not so much that they wouldn't necessarily keep them as a park of a type, but you may want to reimagine, take your, if you will, your tot lot.
Reimagining use.
Yeah.
So instead of having a playground structure, it's more benches and a
It's
small area. to walk about.
Contemplative areas.
Correct.
Gotcha.
which is important. That's why you want to look at the CIP, because all these things have some kind of cost associated with maintaining them over time. And maybe the life of a playground, the structure is 20 years or whatever it is. But eventually it will come time to replace that. You have to do maintenance on them anywhere over time. And that has a real impact on the city's budget, and how the council will want to choose to focus its resources. So that's just one example. We're not talking about just necessarily disposing of parkland, just completely decommission, close it up and do who knows what else with it. That gets into, as the director said, a whole host of other issues.
Okay,
No, there are certain parks that have play structures. Woolly Creek or Woody Creek. It's literally 200 yards to Fisher Creek Park, and it's got its own play structure. And that's falling apart, and I got to spend $60,000 to replace it, and another $40,000 on fall protection servicing. Why would we do that when we have Fisher Creek right up the hill? That's fantastic. Just make that more of a trailhead, contemplative area, as you said, making bench area. Somebody can.
Efficiency of variety of uses.
Correct.
Which is what Dan used to say all the time here. And he pounded there needs to be a unique use for this park that is at no other park in the city, kind of thing. So
I'll do that when the time comes.
you'll start pounding your, yeah.
I'll pound you.
You're not in a fist pounding mood tonight.
No.
Okay. Anyone else have any
Finally,
thoughts?
start talking about the splash pad.
Anything, do we want to talk about recap what you need us to do in part 2 of this topic when we meet again?
Well, I think what I'm hoping to have is you all have had time to look through the document, make sense, start making some notes or marks or whatever you're going to do. And then I'm hoping to have a discussion, really starting in on the policies, the objectives and policies next time. I think we'll go from there. I don't necessarily think we're going to get through all of them in one meeting, because there's a lot and there's a lot to dig into.
Gotcha.
So I anticipate we'll talk about the policies. You may want to shift gears and talk about some of the other things, after that, just to kind of change it up. But I think we'll take it as it comes.
Okay.
To see where the commission's feelings, if you will, on it are.
So that sounds like a meeting where the agenda should be very centric towards this plan and maybe not really any other items. Kind of a roll up your sleeves and go through policies one at a time kind of thing.
To the extent you can, I mean, right,
Yeah.
who knows what's gonna come out.
Sure. So it sounds like in the meantime, we should do some homework on our own before this comes up again. For those in Cyberland who are listening in. Nicole. Okay, anything else? Any other questions right now?
No.
Okay. All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks for your dedication and work, and good idea getting the ball rolling early on this. So
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
I'll swap out with Dylan coming in.
Okay, that was, so let's move on to our next agenda item. Centennial Parks All-Inclusive Playground Equipment Options Review. I printed out quotes. I did not print out graphics. I try to be as paperless as I can, but when I'm, sometimes I fail, so.
I've got it.
Promise to reuse the paper I printed and make a paper airplane out of it.
Okay. This is terrible. I think you're gonna mute myself here.
You are.
Okay, good. Sorry, I didn't want to reverb Gavin. Well, can I give a an update? I want to do two things a little bit with this part.
Fire away.
Explain the concept, tell you why I'm here, and then I kind of want some feedback on the 3 designs that you're going to have. That I'll show you on the screen to make it more clear. So first and foremost, the park project is down in the valley. So here's Snoqualmie. I'll zoom in. I'm sure you'll be delayed here, but it's at Centennial Fields. If you were to go there now, there's an existing playground that is right here. It's much smaller than what we're proposing, as you'll see in the designs. The proposal is to remove this park, use it elsewhere, or I'm sorry, remove this play equipment, use it elsewhere, expand the park and make it an inclusive playground, which is going to allow children that have different ability levels to play and use the play equipment when they otherwise would not be able to. So that's the concept. This project has been going on for a while. It's had a few iterations. It took a bit of time to iron out all the funding sources between different, we've had several, it's been part of several CIP years. We've gone after several grants. We have all that now. The keys for this next step is, and I'll just go ahead and screen share a different post. The reason I'm here is that we ought to be changing the design of the play equipment for 2 reasons. The first reason is about money, which is never the fun one, but the upside of it is we have good options. So if you look, this is the 2018 bid for play equipment, where they're predicting somewhere closer to $407,000. And that was going to keep us under our budget for this project. When we updated that same quote into today's dollars with our inflated costs of equipment and things of that nature, we go up to 435. I might have just said 400. I'm going to say 300. But we basically added an extra $100,000 to buy the same exact equipment, the equipment that was approved back in 2018, which is right here. So you might have seen this if you were, either part of the commission before, or if you have looked through this project's kind of concept. These images here are going to include some fencing and some other details that the other ones don't. That's not to say that we're not going to include it, but we were looking specifically at, we're swapping equipment. We're not looking at the whole project here. We're just trying to visualize what the differences in equipment are. This is intended to be an inclusive playground and was designed so, but this is 2018. Some things have changed with the industry and how they are going to design inclusive equipment for children to use. And so from that time to now, we have, in a sense, better equipment options. And so to take advantage of both an expensive play equipment And to take advantage of new equipment, we wanted to show you 3 new concepts that we would prefer to go with. There's going to be some.
Because I blew cork when I looked at this. Because that's not
That too.
inclusive.
Yeah. So some of the issues are that this equipment, as you see here, it maybe is lackluster. I don't want to bash on things too much, but I don't see a lot of opportunities for kids in different ability levels to utilize this equipment. So I'd like to show you the 3 others. Now, it's going to be difficult for me to like walk through all the differences. There are a ton of differences.
And then it looks like all the quotes are considerably less expensive too, right?
That's
These
true.
quotes.
Yeah, here, let me bring you to, so this is the quote for the 2018. If I
Can I ask a stupid question
Yeah.
for the room, so no one else has to ask us if they're wondering? Is this,
There go the answer.
is this related to what Larry presented?
Yes, it is.
This is the Larry presentation from the special meeting?
From if you, no, that's the Riverview Park,
No,
right?
Okay,
no,
all right,
Larry
Two
did
different
present
things.
on this.
2
though.
different parks.
Yeah,
okay. Just want everyone to be clear on that. So,
yeah. 4 years ago, Larry presented this.
Correct.
gotcha.
3 years ago, I took it over and then we finished the designs, but now we're
Okay.
back.
Okay,
So yeah, here's the quotes. This is A, so in total, project days 312. I highlighted them in red to kind of find them faster on my scroll. 312, 320, and the bottom 333. So much closer to what we were looking for, much better than what is it, 435. So about $100,000 less. The upside of that is that our budget is somewhere around 927,000. With the old design, the previous one that we're suggesting we get rid of, it would have put us over budget, just flat out. So we were at $1 million and spent, we're $75,000 over. And we have some cool ideas that we think would be better to implement by using these new designs. So I'll kind of scroll through the designs. I combine them in a document here, which I should have done for you all, and I can send it to you after this. But this is design A. I can kind of scroll through it. One last thing, not to make this more confusing, but if I were to bring you back to the 2018 models, you'll see that there's 3 sections here. When you look at the newer models, there's going to be one missing. This is a sensory garden, as it was described in the original design. The sensory garden, we've chose to pivot to a sensory garden, hard on the garden there, where it's going to have plants and a type of more native experience, native plant life experience. The things you see here plants wise, that's not going to stick. We're changing those, but I left this little concept here for you to track. So we're replacing one of the sections with a vegetation sensory experience rather than the, I don't know, rattlers and different things that they suggested on theirs.
Within Centennial Park, where does it sit?
Yes.
All around the snack bar,
So right between the
all
two,
around the snack bar.
right
You know, all
between the two
those
baseball fields
little
there.
grass spots.
Yeah,
So here's the existing playground.
Yeah.
The big section you're gonna see is actually all of this. And then this is the small one, this is the sensory garden.
okay.
So when we look at the A, B, and C, they're gonna come as 2 pieces, the big one and a small one. The big one will be here and it will get rid of some of the concrete you see in here. And it'll just be one larger system of play equipment and then a smaller section and then you have the sensory garden. Here's those bathrooms / is it a convenience stand?
Snack
bar.
Yeah.
A concession stand, yeah, so that's the location.
Does that involve tree removal?
It will.
We're already prepared and started. Phil actually planted some new trees out there a couple years ago, so we're not gonna go in there like it's a whole project, lay waste to everything and plant saplings. So there will be different sized trees because they've already started.
You know,
working on
trees
that.
scream bloody murder when you cut them down.
Phil certainly does.
Yeah,
And they did it, didn't 4 or 5 months ago, didn't they do a tree planting at Centennial Park as well?
Correct, that was
This
part
year?
of it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So the only trees there will be the ones that were just planted?
No,
no,
Oh, okay.
there were
Are
other
new
trees
ones?
planted and
yeah,
there will be more trees coming.
Okay.
so kind of a variety of years. Anything that's in the
Nice.
equipment area here is gonna go, but I think there's like these trees here are gonna stay.
Yeah.
And there's actually a tree here now. And basically a lot of these small trees are gonna be there, but in the equipment area, less trees.
And those
No
trees
trees.
are actually already dead. They just don't know it yet because they grew into the oak protection.
Yeah.
And spur with the trees.
Sure.
Does
Center guard.
proximity to the snack bar there, I'm sorry, I'm just train of thought here, does that? Is there carryover competing uses going on there with traffic volumes at the snack bar versus, or maybe it's an opportunity for parents in line to see their kids play, I don't know.
For the most part, the only time you see those concession stands in use is during tournaments.
Okay,
They're barely ever open.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's in the ones.
Yeah.
same burger,
Okay, well, I'll start scrolling through the concepts here. And I understand that this could take time, not.
Well, I can talk to it real quick. So this one here, combined A, this is actually staff's recommended choice, my park staff's recommended choice. That's the one they like the best. It does have some unique things. If you go back to the first, bottom left corner, that's a new piece of equipment. Remember the metal thing that we used to spin around on?
Mhm.
Well, that's a wheelchair accessible one.
Oh.
And kids love it. And then, as you can see, everything's connected by ramps, so there's very little of anywhere where a wheelchair can't get on this design. Additionally, it has the adaptive swings. It has the swing where people that don't have a lot of motor control can lay on and swing. And then the one next to it is where you face the other person when you're swinging. So a helper, et cetera, could be there to help move things. So that is A. And then B is the one staff did not like the most because it's just all swings. It does have the merry-go-round device there. Lots of slides on this one too. The pathway is more of a one-way trip on this one than the other one. The other one was kind of circular.
Oh, so if you get to one in a wheelchair, you got to all the way back.
Exactly. Well, you go down a slide and someone's got to bring it back all the way or et cetera. It's a little more sprawl. And then C, this one I actually like the most because not only does it have that merry-go-round that's wheelchair accessible, this one actually has a wheelchair accessible swing. So they don't have to transfer out of the wheelchair to get on that swing. They go in, a lap bar comes over the top, just like a roller coaster, and they go for it. And then it also is connected by ramps, and there's nowhere in there where anybody can't go. It's also a compact design, it's circular in function. Please ignore all the colors because choice of colors can be made later. This is just, they just throw things together.
It helps it stand out so we see what's there.
Yeah.
These are as is, right? There's no tweaking them. There's no adding anything to one of them.
Adding would be difficult with the budget. Taking away would be much easier.
Yeah, and I'd have to go through each one to figure out what the costs are, so it'd be a thing we would have to work through a bit.
so that would mean taking away, we'd have to zoom in on a feature that we're not.
Yeah, for example, if you don't like the chimes up there in the corner, those can go away. That's going to save you about $25,000 probably.
Who am I to know whether a kid's gonna like chimes or not?
Anyway, it'd be something like this, I'd have to find it in here.
How long are the quotes good for?
Not very long.
Yeah.
I'm assuming if we ask for a new quote, even have something removed, other prices could probably go up too. So,
Correct. These coats are fresh. They're fresh enough that we can roll with them. So my recommendation is that we would. But if there's anything up there that's absolutely offensive and you'd like to remove it, we'll certainly remove it.
You're trying to present an as is, let's move forward with this or this, rather than. It would be extra work and probably spiting, I don't know, as a spider face to just.
A change
pick it
would
apart.
add a month and we
Yeah.
could miss.
It's
We're not
counterproductive.
gonna
probably.
Frankenstein this.
Right.
What are the recommended ages for these? Are they all ages?
All ages
All ages.
from Todd,
You can
2-year-old to
You know,
24.
Yeah.
And if anybody in cyberspace wants to chime in on this, please feel free. So
It's just Nicole.
Do we have a little more time with looking at them?
Which ones? Yeah, just let me know and I'll scroll around.
Do you
Well, for me,
wanna-
at least A and
So,
C. 'cause
look at
that
this
seems to be
for a
the-
sec. All right, so I have,
I have them on my phone. I
Oh,
have to
okay.
look at it on my
so
phone.
we get like, this is C, B, and A.
Yeah, I'll just
this
look
too.
at it on my phone. That's
Okay.
okay.
This is maybe a bigger screen for you. This is A,
Yeah.
find A. You can see the two sections and then this A has more your standard kind of play equipment structures in it, whereas C, if I were to take you over to that, has not as extensive a one on the secondary location, more on the first one, less individual item types.
I kind of like that because it keeps some smaller kids over on the small structure maybe, and the bigger kids will stay away from it.
good point.
Yeah, I liked that. And then on the left side too, for some of the kids, and then the bigger kids can be more on the right. This is all very cool. And then the merry-go-round and the swing for wheelchair, making a
Yeah.
wheelchair.
I don't think
accessible.
there's a swing on
A,
A.
Yeah.
The swing's only on
But
C.
this swing I meant.
this one.
I like that. I like that swing on C a lot.
This C has both. It has, this is the
So
spinning.
Heather
thing.
says she's been trying to get into the
This is
meeting for
the
20
swing.
minutes. Not sure what's
What's
going on. It
this thing?
states waiting for the host.
Just a
to
place
start
where they
the
can
meeting.
sit?
She's using the link
It's-
off the agenda.
Oh,
not
okay.
the
It's
link
like a
off the
cradle
city
swing.
website.
So you'd have to
Yeah,
dismount
I
from
got
the
it.
wheelchair to
It's
use
on
it.
the website.
I think it's the intent there. We never
Heather
find it
used
over.
the link off the city website.
There you go, closer zoomed in. It's like a cradle
Yeah,
thing.
and someone just has to push it.
I think,
Yeah, it spins around.
but again, you have to be off the wheelchair. It's not, you can't roll into it with a wheelchair.
No.
Yeah, they would transfer onto that. But the design, that design, it's more of a seat. So the centripetal force isn't throwing you off the thing like the
Okay,
one we used to ride.
Yeah.
It's pushing them into the seat, so they're sitting.
that's good because it looks like a shallow bowl like you fly.
It's-
Well, if dads get involved, it could occur.
Yeah.
For sure.
Notice they no longer make them round, so you can't put the motorcycle tire on them and get them really going.
Fun days are over.
So I showed these to some various kids down the street and whatnot, ages 2 to 13. And the kids really liked B and C the most. They liked how big B looked and all the slides and swings. They really did like that. But you make a really good point with the kind of the one way. The nice thing about it being one way is I did notice that the ramp looks the largest. I don't know the dimensions, but the ramp does look large enough for two-way traffic. But
It is down there,
you sold,
but then there was.
you sold me on C more because of the more circular design. And I like the combination of merry-go-round and the accessible swing. Yeah, just showing the general pictures to kids, they like B and C the most.
How often do the kids and staff agree on this, you know? I just think it's funny, combined A, how there's kind of an alignment. I was wondering,
Well, A and C got all the votes. No one voted for B in my staff.
yeah. Okay,
And
Oh, you voted for B? Oh, sorry.
But you,
no one in staff.
but staff is giving a recommendation of A. Is that what I understand?
I think we like A and C.
No, yeah, A or C, and my recommendation for the most experience inclusives, everything C is your choice.
Yeah, and that was
It's the
my,
most variety of things.
Can we flash between the two again, real
Yeah.
quick? Sorry,
A. Where do you scroll to the top? A.
that's A,
This is C.
and that's C.
And then more zoomed in like this. A.
So A has the swings, the two kind of typical swings, and then two. There's
There's a quick
Adaptive,
nice slide
yeah.
there.
Mhm.
So there are features in A that are
Is it-
not considered all inclusive.
No, all-inclusive park is gonna be
Yeah.
completely, it's that it has a range of play equipment that can be used by everyone. But there's certainly going to be pieces of this, for instance, there's like a,
See, we're looking at right there. Okay.
yeah, there's gonna be things in here that
Well,
require you
there's
to dangle by your.
lots
hands and
of
stuff.
bar work in that.
Yeah.
The thing about the design that you want is you don't want all of one ability over here and all of one ability over here and all of one ability over there. The whole point is that all abilities are playing together everywhere.
Yeah, I think C is really well rounded for that.
Okay,
I think the only thing I miss on C, I love the wheelchair swing, but there are no typical swings, right?
Yeah,
Like, totally well
the
controlled.
problem with typical swings is they have a massive safety footprint.
So you need a lot
Um,
of space.
So they
and-
take a ton of real estate.
Yeah,
Um,
and is that like a group? Is that
This one here?
for typical kids where?
That's
the
more of
kids
a
can-
lie on,
Is
I
that,
mean,
Yeah, that's
anybody
cool.
can use it, but
is that kind
yeah,
of like the one at Stellar Park?
almost
Yeah.
like a hammock.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Upside
kind
down
of, that
turtle
makes that
shell.
works. It's kind of different kind.
But your traditional swings, I think it's 18 feet front and back and 12 feet on the side. So,
I like it.
and a lot of our playground situations, there's just no room for swings.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Can we get one more overview to flash between C and A?
Yes.
Is that C?
This is A.
This is A.
If you see the red, it's A.
The red
C
is
has
A.
much more turquoise,
Okay,
just for visual catch.
so you're looking for us to render a decision on, for one,
A
a
recommendation.
recommendation.
Yeah.
Decide on a recommendation.
Make a motion recommending a choice to move forward.
Okay. Where are your thoughts?
My preference is C. I like the fact that it has a smaller playground in yep, right there. I think that'll kind of keep some smaller kids there and keep some of the bigger kids away from them, leave them alone a little bit so I can trample.
Okay,
I like the all-inclusive swing and merry-go-round in this guy and that merry-go-round saucer that people can sit in.
Mhm.
And I think that it has the most well-rounded, kind of like large play area with a lot of things you can dangle from, monkey bars and hang from. And then also, once you get up there on a wheelchair, it seems like it's pretty easy to get to most of the platforms.
okay. Emily, do you have any thoughts or preferences or?
I like both A and C, but my recommendation I think would be C.
Okay,
For a lot of the reasons that's there. I also, with going on what Mike said, I really like the swing. Especially, that's so cool. It looks like it would accommodate everybody, age-wise, ability-wise.
sorry that Heather can't get into the meeting here, but you know, things happen. Is there anyone that wants in cyberspace that wants to chime in on this? All right. So I am flexible between A and C, and I hear my colleagues' comments towards C. And Emily, would you like to make a motion, your first motion on spec?
Sure, do I just say I'm making a motion? What's the verbiage?
I'm making a motion to approve option C in the Centennial Parks all-inclusive playground equipment options review.
I'm making a motion to recommend option C in the Centennial Parks all-inclusive playground.
I second that motion.
So let's make a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 3-0,
All right. There we go. A decision.
a decision has been made.
We're not chasing our tails, not making a decision. We could, but we didn't. Thank you. All right.
Yes.
Are you happy,
That's so
Camper?
cool.
I am, yep, I will
Okay.
move forward. And just so you know, for timeline on this, we're hoping that we're breaking ground as early in the spring as possible. And quick moves like this help us get there. So thank you.
Correct.
Great job, Dylan. Thank you.
Great, thanks so
Yeah.
much.
We should be going out to bid in January.
That's the intent. So which means making a mess in March.
So if they wanted to join the committee or council meeting, will this be in the next round? With the
No,
recommendation?
I don't think I'm gonna make it to the next one.
Okay.
First I need to take this information and get actual bid documents.
Okay.
Then I need to send them to our granting agencies
Yeah.
for confirmation, and then I'll be taking it to council.
We will notify you when it's going to council, so you can bird dog it if you want.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
That'll
Conley.
probably be in
course.
January. First meeting of January.
Yeah. Yeah, if not, it's a little sooner, I think, maybe, but maybe.
Which is usually a Tuesday because you have the MLK holiday, so.
Well, Chris,
So it's, yeah, well, I don't know, I guess you're right, with the budget and stuff, never mind, I take it all back.
first meeting in January.
Cancel.
After everybody hates himself after the budget's done, this will be something to bring us all back together.
Okay,
Okay.
so with that, and considering we altered the agenda to bump the bylaws to the next agenda or a future agenda, I call for adjournment. Does anyone want to roll to adjourn? Call for adjournment?
Sure. I will call for adjournment.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right,
All right, thank you all.
we all adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.